So previously on the channel, we rebuilt this F-150, and now today I have got another banger for y'all of a pretty cool car that we're gonna rebuild. Now, I bought this car on a timed auction and had it delivered to the shop. So I could have drove this car home. There was nothing wrong with it as far as drivability, but on this day I just happened to need my trailer and we needed to do a lot with it. So it was easier just to throw the car on the trailer and bring it on home. Where is the hood pop? There it is. Gotta find the ground. Normally there's a grounding stud on these things, but I don't see one. Yeah, we know the hot's there. Maybe we could use the strut. Might have to get to the battery. I'm not sure if the battery's in the trunk of this one or not, but where's the trunk release button? I guess we can see if it'll crank, but it probably won't. It's wigging out, right? The way it's gonna crank, we're gonna get the trunk popped. There we go. Oh, let's see if the battery is. Yep. Alrighty. I got 2 jump boxes on it. Power liftgate temporary unavailable. Had to put the camera down, man. It is hard to do this by yourself without a camera guy. So took 2 jump boxes to get that to work. She is dead as a doornail. Definitely had to put that on charger. The issue with trying to jump these things by yourself is like some of these jump boxes have 30-second timeouts. So on the red one, as soon as 30 seconds was up, it literally would cut off. And with me being in the car, I'd have to climb back out the car, reset it, and put it back on. So we just snagged quick jack system, smoker grill, quick jacks, and we needed this shop vac to vacuum out this Maserati. And if you follow along with the previous videos, you know we bought this truck at auction. So I snagged all of that from the auction, and that quick jack I paid $400 for. So that was a freaking steal. I'm hopefully about to take this to the shop real fast before we start this Maserati and make sure it works, and then hopefully post it for $1,000 for a quick flip. Hopefully make like 500 bucks or so after somebody talks me down, but we'll see. Here is my 2017 Maserati. That is a salvage total loss vehicle. Now don't exit out real fast because we are not gonna do the normal run of the mill with this car. I bought this car totaled from an auction, and we are going to rebuild it, modify and customize it, and see how tough we can make this car look and sound, and then see how it performs. We're gonna do this very quickly with only a couple videos, so you're not gonna have to stay tuned for long term, and show you exactly what we do and how much it cost me in full every step of the way. So this thing might not be the best looking car, but I think that you're gonna be absolutely amazed with the outcome that we get on this car, and I'm gonna need you to let me know in the comment section what you think along the way. But a totaled Maserati, what exactly totaled this car and how bad could it possibly be? Well, this is our damage. This is the only damage that totaled this car. So we have the damage to the quarter, it looks like, which is kind of gnarly. That's gonna have to be all pulled out and fixed. And then we're definitely gonna need a door. Whatever this thing freaking sideswipe looks like a guardrail. It matches a guardrail perfect, actually, like it slid down the guardrail. It completely destroyed the front door, and the back door took a beating. Now, the good news about the back door is it looks like we might be able to salvage this back door with some bodywork and not have to replace it. We previously fixed one on the F-150 if you've been following along, but this front door, we definitely need to get one on the way. The fender is fixable. It looks like we've got some damage to the edge right here, and we've got a kink right here, and then we got a dent right there. So we're gonna need to get that off and fix that. Besides that, that looks like the only damage. So we're gonna have to paint half of the car, and that's gonna leave the rest of the car looking tired. So we're gonna need to do a full buff, a detail, and all that. Now along the way, we're gonna go ahead and modify this. The rims have some scratching on that one, some curbing, and then it's tore up on this rim from, it looks like to be the accident. It's pretty gnarled up. We're gonna do a little bit of a touch to the back end. We're gonna do some exhaust work. We're gonna do a full detail on the interior. And this side of the car is in good shape. Again, the rims have seen better days. They've been curved up, but I think with a little bit of work here at the house, I think we can get this thing looking pretty good. We might go ahead and lower the stance on this. It looks like it's sitting up a little bit too high, and it looks like we're gonna need maybe a tire or two possibly. So we're gonna definitely transform the way this whole entire vehicle looks right here at home. So I've had this thing on charger. Now, I did a review on this video previously, and well, I'm still using this battery charger. Now, I don't know how good it's gonna work to bring this battery back to life. We've got to start cleaning it out. I had it on repair earlier and it switched over to smart. Let's see if this thing will crank, because yesterday, getting it in here was an absolute nightmare with the combination of jump boxes and everything that we had to use. It might need a new battery, honestly. Overall, the interior is not terrible. It's got, all this is loose, so we got to figure out what we're going to do about that. Now, these cars aren't super expensive to get into, believe it or not, and I'm going to tell you at the end of this series of how much I paid for the car, the repair, everything, just like I did with the 150. Now, underneath the hood, it's not bad either, but it definitely needs a clean. I'm excited to get this thing cleaned up and see what it looks like. The interior, thank God the seats are not torn up. So the sides are not torn up. They're in really good shape. The center console, we need to go ahead and find a replacement for that, and somebody left their stuff behind. But overall, this interior is not in bad shape. The switches and stuff in these cars, this is like out of a Dodge Caravan, and this is like a Dodge like Chrysler. It's actually not as crazy high end as somebody would think, even though I do love these cars, and I used to have one, and I love how they sound when they're straight piped. I don't know if we have enough battery to crank. Oh, wow. Yeah, she sounds pretty good. She fired right up too. But we have all kinds of warning lights on the dash. I do want to go ahead and get my scanner on this, or I want to start banging out some of the basic stuff. So it looks like we have a washer fluid light, a maintenance light, so we need to get the oil change done. We need to check spark plugs because it's got slight misfire, it feels like. Let's go ahead and get the scanner on this though first thing and see what we're working with. So we're still using our Think Car scanner that I previously reviewed on the channel. And I love it. So the gas is literally pretty much on E. So we need to honestly run this thing up the road and fill it up with some good gas. I bet whoever, the feeling I'm getting of this car is that the person that had this car could not afford this car. And normally that means that they're running low grade fuel in it instead of the correct stuff. The maintenance lights are on. I'm not sure why it says 50 miles per hour on the dash. I don't know if that is a limit or what. We'll have to figure all that out. Let's go in our scanner and let's just see where we got. Now the battery being so dead yesterday and making it so hard to get off the trailer, like the 2 jump boxes that it took to get it off trailer and all that, it's gonna throw all kinds of crazy codes. So what I wanna do right from the start is just delete the codes and then see what we get back. We've gotta get some fresh fuel in this thing though, because what's in there now is I don't think it's good. And then we're gonna need to get plugs and everything on the way. So, got good throttle response, but we can definitely improve the sound of that. All right, so let's do a high-speed scan. Yeah, so all of these, like system voltage, voltage above threshold, a lot of this stuff is going to be messed up because of the battery. So let's go ahead. Let's see here. We have 49 trouble codes right now. Let's clear the codes and see what we're actually working with, like what actually comes right back. 3. Okay, also awesome. All right, now I was worried about this. Yesterday, Eddie actually got the jump on this thing for me. He unloaded it for me. And when he unloaded it, he did say it had a transmission control module, park by wire, unintended park position, impulse, canvas. Okay, so the shifter, he said, did feel You can even hear it click right there. It literally just jumped from park to neutral, which it should have went from park to reverse. I don't think it should have went right to neutral. It just feels a little sticky. It feels a little not smooth. So I think we're going to need to take that apart and possibly address that. I'm hoping that that's what that is. But yeah, that's not a bad start, only having 3. So starting under the hood, I know we had a coolant light. So it looks like we need to top it off. Might be a little bit low. I really want to wash this thing up before I get started on it. But we need to check both of these tanks. Now, I know I said coolant light, but I meant washer reservoir fluid low. When I got under hood, my mind was going somewhere else, and I started just checking the fluids, and, well, my mouth did not portray exactly what we were there to do, what our mission was for. But either way, all of these fluids are going to have to be changed. So we're going to go through this car and do all the maintenance on it. I'm ordering everything today for it. I want this car, after it's built, to be practically like a brand new car as much as we can do. So full customization, full maintenance, everything, and show you all the cost breakdown. So I'm thinking what I want to do at the moment is move these other cars out of the driveway, run this thing through the gas station, top off the gas in it, and then bring it back and wash it completely and see what we're working with. Let's go ahead and wash out all the jams. Let's go ahead and wash the engine bay. Let's go ahead and wash everything. And then we could possibly also start buffing on the rest of the car to bring some of the paint back and see exactly what we're going to need to do. Then we can, when it's inside, we could start taking apart stuff. We'll get it up on the lift. We can start taking apart items and start doing our paint and body work and our repairs and our maintenance. Steering column control. All right, so we need to go get some good octane gas in this, and then we'll start the cleaning. Looks like the steering, this is a good test drive too. Looks like the steering might be off. So probably need an alignment. Yeah. Cannot believe how low it is on fuel. Like, it's like literally on freaking E. It's crazy how people buy these cars and can't afford to maintain them. Oh man, it's wild. So definitely got a little bit of pull to the right. I don't think there's any damage. There could be. We're gonna put it on the lift and inspect it. So once we get this wash done and everything, then we're going to go ahead and load it up on the lift. That way it'll be easier to do all of our services and fluids. Oh, is that door open? Okay, so it's not registering that the driver's door is closed. Might need to slam it a little bit harder. Once we get that replaced, then that message will go away. I mean, it shifts good, rides good. We don't have any unusual warning lights on the dash or anything at all. The steering wheel is really not that far off. It's just I can definitely tell that it pulls to the right just a little bit. Sometimes people change parts also and then don't go get their alignment done. I just showed, I've seen it looks like a little bit of tire wear on that right hand side. So it could even be that there's a new tire on the left and a wore out tire on the right. That sometimes can make a vehicle pull. But we'll definitely put this car through alignment. We might be lowering this one, and so if you lower it, of course, you'll definitely need alignment. Let's get some go-go juice in this. Okay, so we just put 30 bucks in it. That gave us almost a half a tank, above a quarter. $5 a gallon for premium right now. It's a little crazy, and this thing's just gonna sit in the garage while we're doing the repair. So my theory is let's not put $5 a gallon in it right now, and let's just get some fresh fuel in it for when we idle it and move it. That way it's not old, dirty, cheap fuel if that's what's in there. And then once we get this thing repaired and on the road, then we can actually fill this thing up with some premium. I'd also probably like to put some seafoam through it, and let's run seafoam through the fuel system, and let's run it through the vent or the evap system and all that. Like, let's get everything 100% cleaned out and just get this car back 100% in top-notch shape. It does drive really good though, in my opinion. Speed warning exceeded, so it tells you that we're speeding. It recognizes the street signs and the miles per hour, and then it lets you know. We're gonna have to turn that off. I'm pretty sure in settings you can turn all of the settings off like that. Now all we're going to do is a quick normal wash. We're going to spray the engine bay down with purple power and rinse everything off. This basically gives me a starting point. A lot of times when you get these cars from auctions, they are covered in dirt and dust from sitting at the actual auction yard, and tow trucks and tractors going by all day and every day. So in order to see kind of what needs to be repaired and see scratches and stuff like that, you definitely should clean it up first. Now, through our business, we do over 100 salvage total loss rebuilds per year. I don't do this caliber of rebuild for my business because it just doesn't make sense as a business model, but washing the engine is never going to hurt anything. Now, this definitely isn't the most entertaining, but when you buy one of these cars, this is hands down the most rewarding, because when your car comes in, like I said, most of the time it's going to be covered in dust, dirt, and grime. Like, it's just going to be filthy. So when you wash it, you actually finally get to see what the car actually looks like, and it really gives you a better feeling going into the build itself. Now, I had the wife give me a hand putting this one on the lift. I definitely didn't want to miss the lift or anything. This is the first time we've actually loaded a car on the lift by driving it on there. The Plymouth was put on once using the trailer, so I got to get used to on this lift. But we time-lapse this because she's definitely not quick with it. We're going to move into the buffing part of this. And for the buffing, now that we have everything washed down and clean, there's no dirt on it, we're just using a simple polish. We're not doing any cutting, or we're not doing any cut compound or anything like that. This is a blue, super fine polish pad, and this is just a straight up polish that we use. And this is just going to put some of the shine back in the paint and just give us a good driver level mirror reflection. We don't want to go over the top or get crazy with this one. There's just no point on the backside of this build to go that far with everything else that we're doing. And if you didn't know that you can buff your glass, well, now you know. And once you see the results of it on video and in person, yeah, just leave me a comment thanking me. So honestly, I think this thing turned out pretty good. So on this side. So once we do our paint work on the other side, we'll do a full cut and buff and a polish to that side also. It's definitely not perfect, but the car has a good reflection here. I mean, it's a 17. It's not terrible. It's got a couple of scratches, and it definitely could use, what is it, a color correction. The people that are really freaking good with like wet sanding and buffing, which is not me, because when you get really close to it, camera's not gonna pick it up, but it has surface scratches just like any car. I mean, this thing's a 17, so it's almost 10 years old. But dude, that is phenomenal for an auction car. And it's got like a scratch right there and some stuff, but we're not gonna worry about it. Some little dents. The future owners, like if they wanted to get PDR done on it, they could. But man, that is absolutely solid. Got one spot that we're going to have to address on the trunk lid, which it looks like somebody literally took like steel wool to try to like get tree sap or something off maybe. That is freaking terrible. So we're gonna fix that whenever we go to take care of our wet sanding and buffing on that side. But besides that, I'm happy with how that turned out. Now we just got to get started on this repair. Biggest piece of the puzzle that we needed was a new front door. These doors are aluminum, so they are very hard to work with. If you followed us previously on the F-150 build, you remember I did repair that front door on my truck, but this door is way too far gone to even mess with, so we had to find a replacement. And this is exactly what I have right here, is another black door off of a 2017 Maserati. Now the first thing that we need to do is start stripping this door down. Often it's easier just to go ahead and do this on the car because the car holds the door for you. This window actually won't go all the way down, so that's as low as it'll go because of the wreck, the damage just on the inside. But we're gonna put this up for right now, and we're gonna start finding the nuts and bolts in this thing to take it off. Now, honestly, this wasn't that hard. Basically, Maserati decided to hide some bolts behind some trim, and then this piece right here that I'm already struggling with, I actually am going to take a break from this and come back, because this piece was definitely the first time that I had seen anything like it. So I moved on over to the window switch, and that literally looks like a window switch out of like a Dodge Caravan or something. There's a lot of Dodge, Mopar, Chrysler parts on a Maserati you learn pretty quickly, but the little handle piece that you hold in there in the door panel, I'm going to come back to that. That ended up being honestly the trickiest piece. Now there is a bolt that was hid behind that reflector, and then there's two bolts that's hid behind where this trim was up here. Now to reach up inside some of this stuff, you need like a long Torx, and then for them little pieces to fish the bolts out, I ended up needing a pick. But this piece right here, I try to pull up on it with a pick. It's very just out of the ordinary. So normally on cars, if you're familiar with cars, you pull up with a pick on the little bottom of these kind of cubbies, and there would be like a screw down in there. Not this one. So you have to take trim pull tools and pry this piece up as we're doing now, and then actually comes out, if you notice, with no bottom. So the bottom, if you look carefully, is still inside there, and the bolts are put back at an angle. So very unique. Basically, the piece you pull out is bottomless, and the bottom just stays attached to the door. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. Now, getting these clips to unrelease from the door, they were the second big problem. You can see I'm putting some very high amount of force to try to get this out. Ended up having to take a pry tool and literally beating it in there with my hands like that, tapping it in there, because you have to get it to like pop. And then the door panels are like kind of made out of cardboard. They're not plastic like you would think they would be. So they're almost old school, like out of cardboard. And it's just the clips are very strong, and then the door panel in the bottom being cardboard, it's very weak. So it's like it's a very challenging door panel to actually get released. I definitely don't want to have to do this more than I have to. But them clips, Lord have mercy, they have a tremendous grip on them for this door panel. So hands off to Maserati for that, because they definitely got the clips right. Everything else is pretty straightforward, standard Dodge, Mopar, Chrysler style. And that's just going to be standard bolts like that. So the glue that Maserati uses to hold these door sound deadening cards on with, it's ridiculous. Like, you're going to destroy these door pads. And I tried my best to cut the door pad off to save it, but it took a lot of work. All right, so I did get this one off where it can be reused. It's only torn a couple places and we'll patch that up. But this brand new, I just found it on eBay. It's actually only $38 or best offer, so I missed the part number that's right here on it. Looking that up off eBay shows you it's 38 bucks. But I think that we can definitely just use this one and put a little tape over it. This does really nothing except for cut down on the sound. Now next, we're gonna start working our way towards the window regulator. This, I thought the door panel removal was complicated, but the window regulator actually ended up whipping my butt. So you got this cross big bar that we have to get out. We're undoing the speaker now to get some of the wiring undone because we got to undo the wiring. But once we go for this brace that's in here that the regulator motor is attached to, then it's going to actually be the pieces that hold the glass to the regulator that's the most challenging. And we had to reattach the door panel to get the window to go up and down. If you're familiar with cars, you know you get in there and undo some bolts. So these little Torx things, this is where everything really went south. Now later in the video, I'm going to show you these exact pieces that I struggle with, but these things are just ridiculously tight. They're nothing like normal that you're used to, and they're literally like put in backwards. But they actually, to do it right, it requires a special tool that I'm having to order from the United Kingdom, I think is where I ended up buying it from. So that thing is extremely tight. You basically, I couldn't get it from the front, so loosen it from the back. Has this huge gear thing on it that I guess you could use some specialty tool maybe to get that off. This other one's going to be way harder. Now I'm going to try to fish my hand up in here on this other one, and this is the one that ended up actually breaking a tool that I have no clue how old it is. I have an American-made Torx that I have inquired that I had. It's just got some age on it for sure, and this Maserati unfortunately did end that American-made tool, as I'm going to show you here in a minute. All right, so that sucks because that just broke my USA T27, and not very happy about that because that was an old tool and now we have it stuck in the end. So basically what's happening, you can see that stud when I turn it from the back. You see how it's spinning? But that's a T27. So now we have that stuck in there. And oh man. So a simple door panel, which I have removed hundreds of door panels, hundreds of regulators over my career. This one, because I'm not familiar with these higher end exotic or imported cars, whatever you want to classify this Dodge as, the regulator bolts ended up being what was the absolute, hands down, hardest part of disassembling this door. This piece is easy, it's just Torx bolts and it will come right out. All right, and of course there is a special wrench for it, so I just went on eBay and made an offer. But it is in the United Kingdom. That's the only place that's got them right now. Definitely nothing local here in town. They're for BMW, Maserati. And in the meantime, we're going to try to use some pliers. And yes, everybody knows what happens when you try to use a giant pair of adjustable channel lock pliers inside of a door or a tight area. Yes, I pinched my fingers. Yes, it slipped off 100 times. Yes, it busted my knuckles. And yes, it made me extremely frustrated and mad. So as soon as I got done with this job, I could not spend the money fast enough on eBay to get that tool on the way. There we go. All right. Now, once you unscrew them annoying gear-shaped bolts that I'm going to show you here later in the video, your glass just comes right out. And then from there, it's pretty simple. You got all your plugs, and I'm going to show you actually an interesting fact about these plugs and this wiring harness here just in a moment. The door handle comes out pretty standard. It's literally Dodge Mopar stuff pretty much. And so there's no hidden surprises there. They just literally overcomplicated the window regulator and then took shortcuts on the wiring. Moving on to the latch, this is the part that actually latches your door shut. It's just simple 3 Torx screws, and then it'll come out just like pretty much every other car that's on the road. And there's a screw up in here, and normally you undo the screws, and then the door handles will release. Let's see if that's the case. Okay, so that's all the way out. There we go. So it looks like it literally just locks in, probably like in here or something, and just pins it in. There's no clips or nothing, and the lock's solenoid. It's kind of cool. The lock will just go in there, and then it will turn that piece, which turns the piece up inside your door handle. All right, Maserati, I like that. That's different than my F-150. My F-150, you can't pull the door handle all the way out. You have to unplug this from the inside of the freaking door panel. So I'm actually really excited about this because I want to paint all of these door handles black on the car, but I wasn't sure if we were going to have to take the door panels off in order to do that. And I decided last night that I was not taking off all them door panels, how hard them clips are, to paint them. And if we needed to paint them, we would literally mask the whole car and paint them on the car. So hopefully they all come out that easy and we can tape them up and do a proper job to change these over to black. All right, so our outer door handle's out. Now we just got our inner, so it looks like we have another bolt here. Now all the last bolt does is holds in the frame that the door handle clips into, and you know, all the mechanisms tie into the cables. That's all it really does. That's also literally one bolt, and then it comes out, and then you can take your whole door handle assembly out, and I left mine attached to the lock mechanism to make it easy to remove and less likely to break. Then we're moving on to the door wire and harness plug, and it's literally standard Dodge Mopar to unhook it pretty much unhooks like all other vehicles. All right, check this out. So if we look carefully right there, see that? Mopar. This is literally a Mopar wire and harness. So this wire and harness is out of some other car. It's crazy that they use this stuff off of just other cars. Then we're moving on to the side view mirror, and again, it's pretty standard. 3 10mm bolts and a couple plugs, and this thing comes right off. Nothing's hard about the mirror at all. All right, so we're gonna get this fender pushed out a little. Now, I had somebody make a comment previously on the channel that they were unsubscribing because basically we've turned into a lot of product review videos. And try to explain to that person that the product reviews allow us as creators to be able to make content without having to charge everyone else. And we don't have to charge you memberships. I don't have to try to sell you merch. I don't have to do anything. All you have to do is watch the videos. You don't have to buy nothing. You don't even have to watch the product review videos. You just watch the videos you want to watch. Because by us doing the product reviews, we get tools that allow us to build these projects. And I try to explain that to this person. Now, this porta power is from my shop. I had to drag it here, load it up, drag it to the house. But I did reach out to a company to try to get a porta power for the house. And well, that company ignored me. So, and we've worked with this company before, so this is not like something that we have never done, or it's not like we've never worked with them. But if that company would have responded to us, then I could have had a porta power here at home to allow me to do these projects like this. And I could have even showed y'all the one. But I guess the company just wasn't interested in that, which is a disappointment. But it is what it is. I own 2 of these. I just really didn't want to bring this one here. All right, so all we're trying to do is get this pushed out before we set the door. But hopefully we can find a company that wants to work with us with a porta power so that we can have a setup dedicated here for the house so that we don't have to continuously drag my business's tools back and forth from my business to the home. That looks pretty good. We can dolly, I guess, that on the back side. And don't get me wrong, I don't expect anything for free, but it sure is nice when we can get some stuff sponsored to help out. So when you see the product reviews, I just want to understand that it's all in a bigger picture to help the channel. Now these Porter Powers are at Harbor Freight. The small one, which is what we grabbed, because I feel like carrying the big 10-ton home. The 4 tons are like, I think $180, and the 2 tons I think are like $280 or $240. So they're not too expensive if you need one. Let's put the door on. So now, just make sure that's sitting in where that's supposed to be. Looks like that fender could go in some. Sometimes the Porter Power pulls them out a little bit and you gotta readjust. But basically all we try to do is just put a little bit on it so it can be hammered and dollied, and that's perfect. That is perfect right there. After you swipe that, man, that's gonna be a solid repair. It looks good all up here. So everything's nice and flush. Now we can move on to the back door. You can see we got a pretty gnarly gap. We're gonna have to really push this one to get that out. And we kind of don't want to scratch the back side of the door either, because we're not painting the jambs. Now these doors are aluminum, so keep in mind, just like with the F-150 video, they're not exactly designed to go out, and they don't go out easily. All we're trying to do is just to relieve the door, which actually, now that I see it, oh man, it looks like the back door might be split. We might have to order a freaking back door, or take this to Mike to have it welded up. So if we look right here, I did not catch this. It's that I thought was chipped paint. That's actually the metal separated, but it's inside that groove. So the budget, I really don't want to buy 2 doors, especially because there's nothing wrong with this door. Like, that is it. Let's see if we can just get it pushed out and get it right. And then if so, we could possibly grind and work this edge, and then possibly take this thing to Mike and have, you know, this thing welded all the way up, and, you know, then we could grind it out and shape it. So if we come in here, you can see where it has cracked all of that now. So all of this is knocked in, basically all the way from the body line all the way down. This whole lip is just knocked in, and it doesn't want to go back out. And the bolts are even. You can see that the door, I think it has pushed the door out on the top and the bottom. You can see where the paint was, so it's pushed the door out from the factory settings, and we're still not where we need to be. If this was a steel door, we would have that in the bag, but we've got a huge gap. Tremendous gap. All right, so eBay it is. Now when something like this happens, it absolutely sucks. When I build these cars, I don't really have a budget. Actually, when I buy these cars, including with my business, I have no clue how much they're gonna be to repair them. I kind of have learned that most of the time, if you don't get crazy at the auction and you're not fighting necessarily with somebody too hardcore, that by the time you buy it and then repair it, that you'll probably still be in a sweet spot. Normally the person that you're bidding against, if they are also professional, then they know that they don't want to get carried away. So neither one of y'all want to get carried away, and a lot of times one of y'all are going to let go right when it gets to the point of it don't financially make sense. Now, that is not the case always at all, because some people want cars for personal reasons. So maybe somebody would want a car like this to rebuild themselves and keep. Most people are not shopping at the salvage sales for cars for themselves to keep. Now the F-150 outside that we rebuilt on the channel, that was for me to keep, so I was willing to pay a little bit more, but even then I'm gonna sell it. So I don't wanna be upside down in it where it's not worth it. The sticker price on that truck brand new was $64,000, and as I previously went over in the videos, I was $18,000 in that truck rebuilt completely, totally. So we are gravy on that. This car, however, the budget is tighter, and I'm going to explain that in a later video. So you need to make sure you're subscribed because we're going to go over all the nitty gritty and all the prices. And I think if you don't know Maserati, then you're probably going to be shocked. I want to show you on the window regulator before I put it back in. This is what the Maserati, a couple BMWs, stuff like that, this is what they look like. So when I was trying to get the socket on the backside, I was trying to get it in here, and this one actually stripped. We were able to get it into this one, but that's a freaking T27, and it's really tight. So that's why they put on this side the stud with the T27 in that also, but it's not, you just don't have a lot of bite to it. I mean, T27 is crazy small. They make a special wrench that grabs these gears, and that tightens this. When this tightens down, it clamps the glass in this mechanism right here. Now, it also moves the glass up and down. So in the bottom of the glass, there's a piece of plastic, so you're not clamping on the glass. But you have to put a lot of pressure to tighten this down so it don't move. And this is how you adjust your alignment to make the window, if it needs to go forward, backwards, up, or down. You have to move all that around. And so I imagine it's probably easier to do with somebody in the car tightening it. I'm not 100% sure of the method on that yet, but we are trying, or in the process of ordering the correct wrench so that we can do the adjustment on this window correctly. Man, that sucks. So I'm going to put the jack underneath here, and these tires look okay. They have, decent amount of tread, 25% tread left in them or so. We ordered wheels. We're going to reuse the tires, but I come underneath here and bam, the good old ugly wire showing. So just as I predicted in earlier videos, I think whoever owned this car could not afford this car. I imagine they were making a payment on it. The back tires look good, thankfully. Now, I haven't had a chance to check fully the car out. I try to work when I'm out here, and man, that sucks. Now, on the inner fender, Maserati decided to go back to Phillips screws. So there's a lot of Phillips screws, and then there's the good old plastic push pins in it. It's not bad at all, actually. It was surprisingly well. There is a 10 millimeter in the top, and once you get that done, this front half overlaps the back half. All right, so we have this dent right here, and then this buckle. This is dented in, so it's definitely going to make this buckle out. We can get in here and hammer and dolly it, but first let's just see if we can push it out. Not so much. Let's get a rubber mallet. I basically want to try to not mess this fender up. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. Believe it or not, we're just going to get some dikes and we're going to try to straighten out the edge first. Man, that looks really good. All right, so I think that pretty much takes care of our fender. Now all of this in here, while we're in here, everything looks good with the suspension. There's nothing that looks bent, nothing looks out of the ordinary. All the tie rods look like they are correct and intact. Heat shields are all there. Everything is exactly like it's supposed to be. Our intercoolers are all in good shape. So nothing is alarming under here at all. Everything looks amazing. All right, so on the wheel arch, most of the time with cars, these are going to be double layered, which makes it hard to push or pull from the inside, because if you get up in here, there's actually a gap, if that makes sense. So this outer skin might be like 2 inches, 3 inches from the inner skin. And that's what you can see up in here. We have no damage to the inner skin, the inner structure is no damage. It's just all to the outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to come and push right here across this lip, because where the outer skin meets to the inner skin, it's folded around at a 90 and spot welded inside of here. So we're going to try to grab it right here where the two skins meet and see if we could just push this wheel arch out and if everything will pop. As long as we could push this out, we should be able to do a little bit of body work over all this and make this perfectly fine. And I know I said that's spot welded, but it's actually panel bond glued. The two pieces together where they meet in the wheel arch. They don't do the spot welding no more. That's kind of an old school thing. My mind was just not in the right spot. So all we're doing is just pushing this out, and then it's just going to be a series of hammering. We're going to just slowly try to work the metal back where it needs to be. Sometimes you have to actually push the metal out farther than it needs to be because of spring back. You have to account for, when you take the pressure off of the porter power, how much the metal is going to move back in. And you'll see that in a certain number of these different clips possibly, but you have to account for the spring back. So when you do get it pushed out, you got to relieve the tension because metal has memory, and you kind of want to hammer it back and just relieve the tension that's on it and get it to sit where you want, so that after it's spring back, it's in the right spot. And you don't want to end up with having to put a bunch of body filler on this, because then that's just going to crack or possibly fail later on. So we want our metal out as basically kind of as close as we can. I mean, this is not going to be, nothing like fancy, but we don't want to just cave and pave, half a gallon of freaking body filler on this quarter panel either. So normally I use a frame rack. I have a frame rack at my shop, and I hook chains and just pull this. This is the first time actually doing this with the porter power. And I can tell you, for all you DIY garage guys like this, the porter power is definitely way harder than a frame rack. Frame rack makes ease of it, but obviously we all don't have room for frame rack. I mean, look at me. I don't have room at the house for nothing like that. If I didn't have a 4,400 square foot body shop, then I wouldn't have room for a frame rack. So the porter power got the job done. It's affordable. And we're definitely going to be using it more in more videos in the future, because I'm trying to keep these repairs as DIY at home as possible to a certain extent. So we're just hammering and dollying the edges. I went ahead and actually rolled this edge right here because we're going to be lowering this car anyway. So the other edges might have to be rolled. I think you'll be surprised with how aggressive we're going to get with this thing. So being the inner arch was damaged, I just chose it. So why not just go ahead and roll it, Why do all of this paint work and body work and then it hits? That way now all we have to do is deal with the passenger side. If it hits, we'll just have to heat it up and roll that. All right, so this is the part of the video that is going to definitely ruffle some feathers. Now, we have to get this body line right here out. So we have a body line here, and it's pushed in through here. And if you're familiar with collision repair, then you probably already know where this is about to go. All right, so what we got right here on the table, you probably already know if you're familiar with it, is a good old stud gun. Now, I haven't used this quite in some time. If we look at the amount of body shop dust that is built up on it, just the plug alone hasn't even been handled. I grabbed it from the shop. It's on the bottom shelf of the body cart because it doesn't get a ton of use, honestly. Most of the time we can dolly out panels or we can just replace them or whatever. However, in this situation, we are not cutting off a quarter panel over something so basic. You in your shop doing this yourself, you also would not cut off a quarter panel for something so basic. So we're going to use this stud gun to get our wheel arch back out on that body line. That's all we need. We need maybe a 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch out so we don't have so much body filler. PDR guy might be able to get in there with PDR tools and get that body line back out. But realistically, at your house, what you're probably going to do is you're probably going to go down to Harbor Freight and grab you a stud gun. All right, and a lot of people don't like the stud guns, even though they are very popular. Harbor Freight sells them. If a lot of people didn't buy them, then Harbor Freight wouldn't be selling them. So obviously plenty of people still use them. But people don't like them because they weld the stud just like this to the panel, which is going to burn off the paint on the inside of the panel. And so then people say that then you can have corrosion and stuff like that on the inside of the panel that you can't get to. And while that's true, most cars just ain't gonna last long enough for that little bit of corrosion on the inside of the panel to ever make a difference. Like, it's just facts. So these things are still very popular. Vevor has them, Harbor Freight has them, everybody has them. And they are still stocked and sold. This is old technology. There's definitely new stuff out there. But for your home garage, this is it. This is what you probably gonna end up with. All right, once you have your studs welded there, it's as simple as putting the slide hammer on and pulling them out. Now I like to just work a little bit at a time. This is not gonna come out perfect. We're not looking for absolute perfection because we're gonna finish this all out with body filler. All this is doing is lifting our body line. And I'm definitely no pro. I don't have a ton of hours on a stud gun. Because honestly, I haven't used it that much. And let's go ahead and grab this hammer. And get a little bit of pressure on that, and then all right, now you notice that I busted out the other sander. I absolutely hate that sander, but unfortunately, this is just the way that it goes. Now, believe it or not, I have a 4,400 square foot body shop with paint booth, frame rack, and all the correct body tools, but we're trying to keep this in true DIY fashion and do this right here at the garage. Now, we do have 80-gallon air compressor that's tied into this garage where I can use a DA sander, but I currently actually don't have a DA sander here at the house. However, we will definitely be adding one. I wanted to use my Vevor sander, and the reason why, you can see the issue here, is because this one has the speed control on it. Now, I'm not plugging a link or anything in this description in this video. I've already reviewed this one on this channel, and in that video, I said the reason why I like this sander is because this pad size is the same as an actual DA pad size that I use at the body shop, and it is a Velcro backing. Normally I use sticky backs, but this is Velcro, and I liked it because I could turn the speed down. With this one, I'm gonna have to pulse the sander to scuff this up, and I'm probably just gonna have to block it by hand because I don't have the correct stuff here right now to do this. If this hadn't messed up, I just went and pulled it off and it ripped this off, so I'm gonna literally have to buy a replacement freaking backing pad for this Vevor sander. Then I could use this one and turn the speed down and it work a little better. With this other sander, with it running wide open, the shop vac doesn't stand a chance of sucking it up. It just creates more dust in the air. So working at a slower RPM turning on the sander will help the shop vac suck it up. Normally I do not use vacuum sanders at the shop, at our business. I don't use them, I just let dust go everywhere, but we're trying to keep the dust to a minimum in here. And I just felt like that was important to understand why I'm pulling out a straight up wood sander. We'll get there, but I'm having to basically restock a mini body shop at the house when I already have one at my shop. Now, first we're starting with a lightweight body filler. Yes, I do not tear off the first page of this mixing board, so there will be orange and black dye in my body filler, but hey, in today's society, every penny counts. Products are very expensive, and you're lucky I didn't mix it on the plastic that was wrapped around the product when I got it. But we're going to start out with the body filler, try to get us an even coat. Now, don't feel bad. Normally, it's going to take you 1 to 3 swipes of body filler. If you're having to go for 6, 7, 8 swipes, then you probably need to do a little bit more metal work before you actually get started. But 1 to 3 swipes over it is perfectly normal, no matter what anybody tells you. Now, I do tape up the perimeter so that, like this, it makes it very easy to pull off, and I don't have to worry about it getting into the door jambs or anything. Now I'm having to basically kind of pulse the sander to get started because it just spins too fast. Straight up, if I run it wide open, it doesn't suck the dust up good. I kind of got in my groove right here and had it where the vacuum was sucking it up good. But I definitely hate this sander. So the way this sander works, this orbital sander versus the DA, which is a dual action sander, this thing actually makes this lip wavy. So this is the first time I have ever in my life did body work with a what I call a Home Depot Lowe's wood sander. Like, this is not the correct tool. And I 100% struggled. So if you are using a sander with a drop cord plugged into it, you're probably also going to struggle to get body work straight. I can definitely get body work way straighter with a DA, believe it or not. Now, I moved on to a wood or a block, but again, I didn't have a correct block. So that's literally a sheetrock sponge foam block that I wrapped around some 80 grit to start blocking this thing out. I could block this panel out with anything, you know, honestly anything, your sponge from your kitchen sink. All that matters is the piece that you're wrapping your paper around kind of holds it straight. So don't get carried away with all these stupid blocks that are on the market now and overpay for something. You just need basic blocks. Now, once we got done with all of our coats and I had the shape that I wanted, then of course, realistically, you're going to have pinholes. So the other guys that tell you that they don't have pinholes, they're lying to you. That's what Dolphin Glaze is made for. We're going back over this with the Dolphin Glaze, and this is going to fill in our tiny pinholes, and this is going to give us one more chance to block on. Now, clearly, I cut out a ton of footage. Like, this is, you know, an hour or so worth of body working on just this cord panel alone, and you'll unclick the video and unsubscribe probably if I show you all that. So I had no clue at my local pick and pull. Eddie told me that they had a Maserati out here, but I had no clue that they had a 4-door one. I thought Eddie told me that it was 2 doors. I didn't listen. I ordered the front door off of eBay, and we've already got that put on, as you just seen, but it literally is right here. So I'm going to show you at the end of this video what I paid for that door. But these doors out here are about 60 bucks if you get them stripped down. So the seller, I ordered almost a week ago the back door, and it has not shipped. And so I have now put in a request on eBay to cancel the shipping on that, and we're going to snag this one. All right, for these panels, we're about to prime them. Now, this is going to be pretty much exactly like if you're shooting it in a paint and body shop. I'm actually going to roll this on, which I have never done, but we're trying to keep this true DIY fashion. So all I always do, even though I'm not shooting primer like out of a paint gun, is I'm still going to mask this up, and I'm still going to scuff all the areas. That way we can roll this out, and I basically already established a boundary for me to stay in. Now to do this, we actually picked up this. Let's see if this is any good. This is from Advanced Auto Parts. This is on clearance, so you can use also wax and grease remover. And we're going to be getting some of that, but I figured why not pick this up. Yeah, it's actually soaking wet. Wow, look at that. So this is on clearance. I think there's more on clearance. I'm actually literally, when I sit down to eat, I'm about to go and see if I can snag some more of these. Wow, that's not bad at all. Man, I wonder if you can get these in large packs. It's Duplicolor Prep White. So normally I spray wax and grease remover on and wipe it off, but man, if I can just keep it in towel form, then why not just do this versus having to have something in another gallon can or whatever and towels. This is pretty cool. All right, so we're using some roll-on primer. Now this is the MP282 High Build 2K Rollable Primer by Omni. I bought this local to me. You can order it offline. Basically, you roll this stuff on 2 to 3 coats, and you're gonna wait 5 to 10 minutes between each coat. It's gonna air dry within an hour and a half to 3 hours, and you can force drive it if you want between 20 and 30 minutes, but overall, it's basically 3 hours to sand it and top coat it. Now, this stuff actually rolled out pretty good. I was impressed with it. It wasn't bad at all, especially to use in my garage. So I think we'll be probably going this route a little bit more often. All right, so this is actually not that bad. I'm actually really surprised at how this turned out. Like, this might be the way to go. I mean, that was pretty straightforward. I think it definitely creates a lot of waste, but it actually worked pretty good. So again, I know this is nothing new, but it's new to me. It is definitely orange pilly. It is definitely textured. I mean, obviously we just rolled it on, so I'm just very curious of how 3 coats. I know I can sand out texture. That's no problem at all. But I'm curious how much primer is left after we sand out all 3 of our coats. Like if it cuts through or if there's going to be enough. If maybe we should have put 4 coats. Not 100% sure. I would have had to mix up more if I would have went with 4 coats. You might be asking yourself what this mess, jumble mumble mess is right here. There's actually a very, very small scratch in the clear coat right here. It doesn't go all the way to the metal. It's into the base coat. But I kind of just rolled some primer over it. We're going to sand all the primer off of this. And hope that there's enough between bringing the clear down and the primer on the panel that there's enough that it will be good to go, and then maybe we can roll it with primer one more time. Now, this whole repairing this car in my home garage right here actually turned out to be a little bit more challenging than I expected. I'm going to admit that. But the only reason why it was more challenging is because I have got so spoiled rotten and used to owning a body shop that doing it in my home garage was kind of a setback. It seemed like every time I turned around, I didn't have a sanding block. I didn't have the correct sandpaper. I did not have the ability to clean up my spreader super easily. Everything that I'm used to in the body shop definitely is harder at home because I'm without. So we're gonna slowly build up our supplies here in the home garage so we can start doing this, and we're gonna continue to look for options to make it easier to do it at home. Being we don't have, or we don't want, I should say, the overspray all over everything, going this way with the roll-on primer was actually a win. Now I'm curious how it's gonna stand out, and I'm gonna show y'all that. But not having to deal with all of the plastic and the paper and the overspray and the smell. The biggest thing is the smell. I have 3 kids of my own and a wife, 2 cats. The house is right behind us through that door. They don't want to smell it. Anytime I have fumes out here, they smell it. Now, I did throw a box fan in the little window that we have over here, and I opened the garage door up to let everything gas out while it was drying and kicking off. So it definitely helps if you can do these steps like on a Saturday or Sunday where you can leave your garage open and well ventilated. But sometimes even overnight, I'm finding that doing the body work and the primer, I'm having to leave the window in the garage open or cracked so that stuff can gas out. It's just what it is. That's how it is. It's part of using chemicals in your home garage. So do you remember in previous episodes that annoying piece to get the window out of this Maserati? Well, I had to order a tool. Now that tool had to be imported and I didn't want to wait. All right, so basically what we've done instead of waiting is I have went and just built a tool that fits in there. So the cuts are not perfect because this is plasma and you can see it's crooked. My table is still, I haven't dialed it in 100%. You can see how crooked that is. It shows up more on the 1/4 inch. We got to change our piece, but hopefully this will allow us, I don't want to go on straight on. It looks like it's got to be like walked on. Which side goes on easier? So it goes on easier from this side. So I'm thinking the only thing that's going to be a problem on this is it needs, we're at the wrong hook. So we need a hook over here. We need pretty much like 180 or a little past 180, like over here. That way when this bites in, it's trying to pull up on these teeth and it'll turn. Because see, right now it's just going to want to basically roll out like that. So I don't think this version is going to work. I think we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and redo it. So that's exactly what we did, is we went back to the drawing board and we redesigned this tool right there in Fusion 360 and cut it here at the house on the plasma table. Now here is a window regulator. Normally this is the side that you're seeing and this is the door side on the back side. So normally you can't see this gear. So for demonstration, I'm gonna slip this around. This is how this tool works. So you can buy these off of eBay, Amazon, different places, but basically this is gonna go into that gear and it's gonna lock it and allow you to turn this. This controls that clamp right there in the window regulator, and this is what tightens down the glass. Okay, this pinches it. That allows that glass to move forward, backwards, up, down, and all that, so you can align that glass perfectly inside the hole, because you can't do these doors like a traditional window where there's just one bolt or one clip that goes through, because you got to be able to line these up, lean them forward, backwards, up and down, and all that stuff. So that's where it's important. Why they decided to use this gear setup instead of just a regular old bolt like hex head that you can put a wrench on, I don't know. Maybe it's to keep you at home, to try to keep you not doing it yourself and take you back to the dealership so they can get your money. I don't know, but we can always design our own tools and make our own tools right here. Now, honestly, this part ended up not quite being as hard as I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure if I just got lucky or if it really is not that hard, but no matter what, all that matters, at the end of the day, it works. So we close the door, our fitment's good, window goes up, seals up like it's supposed to be, everything sits in there nice and aligned. Now that door is a little bit tight, I understand that. All that is when it got in an accident, it moved the striker inside the door jamb, and we're gonna have to adjust that. But we're gonna adjust it later on. For right now, this thing opens and closes like it should. It's just hanging up a little, but I know the problem and I know we can fix that later on. All right, so we're finishing up this door panel. We're gonna get this last piece clipped in, put the window switch back in, and then that's basically it. As you just seen, I got all the body work done, and then we're gonna add in some of these trim pieces. Now from the pick and pull, this is what this car come with. It's kind of actually like boring. It's like, oh, about dropped it. It's like painted gray, but check this out. So from the pick and pull, when we got that door in the previous clip, or if it's not previous, it's in the video, you'll see these are actually like wood grain. So these are ABS, but they're literally like textured like they're wood grain. So I think this is gonna be a perfect upgrade to this car to just give it that little bit of extra that this car wasn't intended to have. Now this come out of a tan interior car, so I don't know if the black interiors ever come with it, but you can definitely let me know in the comment section if you can, if the black interiors ever come with the wood grain or if we are switching something in that did not. These should just pop right in, and then that's that. So basically now we've got the window put in, we've got the door back together, we've got the primer put all over everything. So overall, for the most part, the body repair is completely done. Now what we've got left, we of course do the paint. We're gonna have to take the bumpers off, we're gonna have to completely disassemble the bumpers, take them all apart, paint them, but we're actually gonna do that at my business. So I understand that a lot of you DIY guys cannot do that at a paint and body shop, but you can achieve the exact same results in your garage or outside, wherever you want to do it with a little bit of cutting and buffing. It's just for me right now in this video, I don't want to overspray all of our stuff, so we're going to take it to the shop. So we're going to jump straight into now doing the maintenance, and I'm about to show you everything we need to do the maintenance. All right, so I got everything here to do the service on this Maserati. So we have the transmission fluid. This is the type that everybody pretty much says to use. So we got enough bottles hopefully to do all that. Now on the Maserati, the thing that is crazy to me, you can let me know in the comment section if this is common, but when you do the transmission fluid change, the filter is built into the pan. So this is supposedly our pan and everything we need to do it. Now I've never seen one of these, but supposedly there's a filter built into here somewhere. Not really 100% sure, but you're supposed to literally change the pan out. Oh, right there. Wow. That is crazy. So I don't know why Maserati did that. I also don't know if this is a Chrysler transmission or an actual Maserati transmission, but the filter is built into it. This is why when you go to service a Maserati, it is so expensive because they do stuff like this, which is gonna cost you more. And I'm gonna show you, it's gonna pop up on the screen, how much we paid for each step. That way you can follow along. Now, originally I ordered each filter for this car, but I later then realized that there's actually kits for this car, which is really cool, that you can order on the cheaper side and service all the filters in the car. You can individually buy them, but this saves you a ton of money. You're gonna be blown away when I pop up on the screen what we paid for all these filters. Being this is a turbo car, they have the setup where it has 2 filters. So we need 2 breather filters, and then you need the oil filter, which looks like this, is the cartridge style. That's pretty common. And then the cabin filter. Now, I wasn't gonna do the cabin filter, but when we go to sell this to somebody, I wanna make sure that all the services are done on this car that need to be done. That way, whoever buys this is not stuck having to pay Maserati for any service or anything. What else? Let's see here. We're gonna do all of the coolant on this car. So this is what they call for. Never used this before in my life, but this is supposedly what all of the Maserati guys use. And it takes, I think, 2 and some change on these. And so we went ahead and ordered extra because we are definitely going to be doing more. So if you're not subscribed, you might want to go ahead and smash that subscribe button because we're definitely stocking to build up more. Motor oil, we're going with this. This is recommended for pretty much doing all the Maseratis. The guys in the forums and everything recommend that. And then we're also going to go ahead and do the rear differential service. So this is what they're running for the rear differential. Again, I'm trying to do this so that when somebody buys this car, all the service is completely done. You're not going to get into this thing and then have to go pay Maserati to do something. We're going to go ahead and do it. It's probably not needed, but power steering. They actually call for basically a automatic transmission fluid for the power steering, which is actually pretty common. You can put power steering fluid in your car, but basically all it is transmission fluid. And then this one has a little bit of a misfire. In the first video, I think I talked about it, how it was a little bit of misfire. I'm not sure if that's coils or spark plugs, but to start out, we're gonna do the spark plug. So let's get this thing up on the lift and in position, and we're gonna start just banging this out. But hold on, time's out. How much do we actually end up paying for all this stuff? Well, first off, I'd like to introduce you at the end of my video to our new cameraman who's going to be helping us out along the way. So make sure you stay tuned. Gabe, I greatly appreciate you helping us film this, and I hope that we could do a lot more in the future. But how much do we actually pay for all that fluid? So for everything, this is full service, everything excluding the brakes. Now rear brake pads are $55. That's not included in this. $435.55. Later on, after this was done, I discovered that we needed pads, and I ordered them for an additional $55. Now, Gabe had the idea, let's call the Maserati dealership and see how much they would have knocked us over the head on servicing this car. Even the cost of just the product in our hands, and then we go home and service it ourselves. We couldn't make that happen. I promised Gabe that I was going to do this at my shop this week, and I was simply way too busy to take the time. I don't even take lunches to call the Maserati dealership and price that out. But me and you both know Maserati would have absolutely knocked our head off on this service. You should be good there. All right, so we got the ones out the side. We got a couple more right here, but of course, everything's in the way, so I had to switch up the setup. I'm thinking that this is it. There we go. All right, so somebody else on YouTube takes the whole entire front bumper off. I've never serviced a Maserati, just like you watching this. You're watching this because you've probably never serviced one. He took the whole entire bumper off to do this. We're gonna attempt to do it without it. So there's a peacock right up here somewhere. And we might still have to take the bumper off. There it is, right there. So we gotta turn that, and this is the drain. So I gotta figure out how to get that turned. Now Maserati puts a bolt hole through the front of this that comes in up here, and you put a flathead screwdriver through, and then you turn that. But if we can somehow, which is not looking freaking good at all, oh my God, if we could get that sucker turned, we wouldn't have to take the whole front bumper off, but it's really not looking good, y'all, because I can't even get my fingers to turn it, let alone a freaking pair of pliers. All right, so all of this is undone. The game plan now is we're gonna go under there and try to get this screwdriver in there without taking this whole entire bumper off. Now, some of y'all are gonna probably say that we should take the bumper off, but I'm trying to not do that. So if we can get this screwdriver up through here, and we can. Now this is probably gonna make a mess, but hopefully I don't start wearing it. Here we go. There we go. All right, so there we go. Check that out. So that's it, dude. So while we're under here, we're gonna go ahead and drop the fluids out of the motor, and we're gonna do transmission and the rear end, and then we'll lower the lid, and we'll put the fluids in, spark plugs, and air filters. All right, we're gonna try to catch all this oil. Oh God, it's gonna make a freaking mess. Of course, it gets right there to the end. See if it comes out clean. It gets right there to the end where it don't want to unthread. That's about as good as it was gonna. It's really not. I mean, I know it's kind of black, but she's definitely dirty. Definitely in need. So overall, this car is actually not dirty at all. We're gonna clean up this little bit of splashing that we got, but there's literally no oil leaks underneath here. This is all from it splashing, but it is really freaking clean. I mean, the car's only got, look at that, Maserati stamped into it. The car's only got 66,000 miles. But I mean, this thing is in really good shape, y'all. All right, now I don't know if this will even work, but let's see what this does. This is like a plastic. Oh, it is coming out. Ooh. God, what a mess.
Honestly, that was best case scenario.
Yeah, no, I mean, we literally hit the bucket perfect. I don't mind getting it on the hands, but we hit the bucket perfect. Oh, she's splitting. Hopefully this don't make too big of a mess, but I got a feeling that it probably is. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen, is that you got to replace the whole pan every single time you do a freaking filter change. Now the question is it going to be stuck or is it going to come right off? No, it feels like it's coming right off. Whoa. What a disaster, dude. I don't know why I did not think of putting down a freaking pan. I literally have a tray over there before we started this nonsense. So it really looks good. I mean, it don't look bad at all in here. I mean, I know it should look pretty clean anyways, but this thing's in really, really freaking good shape. All right, so I'm just gonna lube this thing up a little bit so that the O-ring doesn't tear when it goes up, because it's gotta slip up inside there. And then, there we go. All right, let me get all this buttoned up, and then we're gonna move on to the rear differential, which I have absolutely no clue how to do. All right, now for this, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be just like a pickup truck or a rear end, just a normal rear end, as we should be able to drain it out of here, and then it looks like there's a fill port up here on the side, and I'm thinking it's gonna be just like a normal rear axle where once it reaches the top, it just overflows and then you're done. Oh, you can literally hear the air coming out of it. We should have, why I didn't think about cracking the freaking one up top to let the air out, because that's what it is it's jerking like that because all over the place because it's burping.
Second time.
Yeah. Oh, come on, guy. I guess it's done now. All right, so on this, it looks just like a normal plug. You have the magnet on here. There's not that much metal. There's a little, yeah, there's some metal wear. And this has only got 60-some thousand miles, but that's what this is just gonna be the magnet that's gonna pick up the metal. Now, of course, with this being almost a brand new car at 60-some thousand miles, it's not 200,000, it's gonna have to wear in. So some of this is probably just from it wearing in. But we're gonna go ahead and clean this metal off of it so that it can be fresh when it goes back in and catch any other thing else. Check this out, a 10 T-handle, I did not know that, is the same as a 10 wrench. So we're gonna put this over it and use it for leverage because of course I don't have the right socket. Oh. Let's see if this works. Oh, look at that. Wow. That is definitely a first. I had no clue. It makes sense, but I had no clue that your Allen wrench sizes are the exact same as your wrench. All right, go one step farther and actually put, just like the factory, the paint pen mark back on it, like they do, to make sure it hasn't turned. So theirs is on this side. You can't see it, but there we go. Back factory, baby. We're gonna try to do this just like old school way. Oh man, already making a mess. Where it makes a huge mess, and see if we can just get it in there. Now I know they make kits for this kind of stuff that makes it where it's easier to fill it, but I don't have none of that. So just like y'all probably at house, you're just gonna be sticking a bottle in it. And if we can't get it all to come out like this, we might have to try plan B. But we'll see what we can get with this. Everybody loves that noise. Everybody loves that noise. Sounds like after you eat Taco Bell. All right, one bottle down. Bottle number 2. Now that little bit that's coming out right there is me spilling it. I'm really hoping that this thing starts to pour out and I don't have to go to no plan B. I think it's not supposed to take 2 full ones, but I remember I bought 2 because it was more than 1, for sure. I think that's leaking. I don't think that's full. Or maybe it is. I think it might. Oh yeah, she's full. We're just gonna go ahead and cap that, and that is done. We're gonna clean this off because all of this crap that we just got over the exhaust, this thing is gonna smoke like crazy when we go to drive it because it's got to burn all this fluid off the exhaust. All right, we're gonna use this little sun drop bottle funnel, top this stuff off. This is obviously straightforward. Just top it off till it gets to the top. Pretty boring. And then all we got left, we got to put the transmission fluid back in it, spark plugs, and power steering fluid. All right, now we got to do the air filters, but we got to get down to the oil filter also, and it looks like it's going to be down there on the front corner of the engine, and this is in our way. Oh, that thing's kind of dirty. And then it's got a lot connected to it. All right. You're gonna just lube up the O-rings always because you don't want to go push that down in there and they tear, and then also it's harder for them to slip in there if they're all dry. So, all right, and then your filter is gonna come with a new O-ring. So make sure you change that. Again, try to just get a little bit of slipperiness on it. It goes inside of a groove, and then we just stick it back on. So this one actually doesn't look that bad. I mean, only 60,000 miles. It's not really that bad at all. But we're gonna go ahead and replace it, the cabin air filter, with a brand new filter so that that's done also. Gotta get it to sit in there just right. It goes in that little tray. There you go. Brand new cabin air filter installed. looking at it a little bit closer, it actually is quite full of nastiness. So a lot of people overlook this. I bet this is the original one out of the car. So it was definitely needed to be done. Oh. That break loose? Or I was about to say, holy crap, boy, that took some freaking strength. That sucker was in there. All right, now, so I think we're gonna have to pump this in there. It's got some kind of nipple on it. Oh wow, it's literally got like a straw. Dude, these bottles are worth saving just to have around for other fluids. Wow, let's see how this works. I might have to put a hose on it, honestly. Let's see. Wow. Yeah. That is crazy that works. But how, I don't know how we're gonna get
All of it.
Yeah.
Is this one the same one as the diff?
Yeah, I mean, we might have to put it in another thing or something.
Yeah.
I might have to keep pouring it in. All right, let's try another bottle. So my theory right now is let's put as much as we can out of these bottles. I think everything I ordered, I need all of it just about. So let's just try to get it in there and then see if maybe we can start filling up single bottles with the leftovers, and if all of that will go in there. If that don't work, then we're gonna have to do some kind of pump. All right, so now we've got a steady stream coming out of it. So just like a rear end, if you got a steady stream, can't talk, coming out of it, then it's gonna be filled up to the fill port. So then we're just gonna put the plug back in it and tighten her down, and that's it for the transmission fluid. These down here that are left over, later on when I'm cleaning up, I'm gonna just take them. There's like a little bit in every single one, basically. I bought a whole case. And I'm just gonna dump them all into one to make a full one to store. So to do that, I bought, let's see here, 6 of them. So if you wanna do it the same way, I seen another guy on YouTube doing it with the sprayer, the chemical sprayer. You can look through, there's all kinds of different pumps and stuff you can use, but that seemed to work fine, and we're just gonna put them all in the same thing to store them later on. These look like they're pretty straightforward. Pull the plug off. And then, I think this is a 5mm. For the socket size, it's a 14mm. You're gonna have to make sure you got that. We had a misfire problem. That thing's kind of dirty, which that one looks like it's got motor oil in it. Could have a leaking valve cover gasket. Not 100% sure though, I haven't seen any leaks. For the spark plugs, we're using NGK. So there's the part number that's for this engine. That's probably gonna fit most of the Maserati engines that are exactly like this. Now I'm gonna hit these with a little bit of anti-seize on the threads of the spark plug. Drop her down the chute. Take your coal pack. I'm gonna put a little dielectric grease just in the top. It just helps make sure that everything makes a good connection. Throw it back in there, put the bolt in, plug it in, and we are good. All the other ones should be pretty straightforward. It looks like this one back here might be the tightest with the cowl panel there, so you might have to do a different combination of some sockets, but it's gonna be the exact same as all the others. This is honestly looks like a pretty easy engine to do spark plugs on. And the cover, we already pulled the cover off, but it literally just comes right off. It snaps over this ball, that ball, that ball, and that ball. That's all that holds the cover on, is it just pops into place. Take your plug, make sure it's seated back up, and the yellow safety clip, and you're good to go. We got the other ones to do. So I picked this up off Amazon Haul. I know a lot of people have seen these things. Let's see how this works for the power steering. Really just this. And then we'll get a drain pan. So I go to power steering. I think we should be able to stick this thing down in there. Look at that.
Like a doctor.
I know, that is crazy. Dude, it actually looks kind of dirty. Oh wow, that worked good. But look, that don't look like super clean.
What bodybuilders feel like?
Yeah. And we're not gonna be able to get it all out. Like we're just to do this correctly. What they say is, they say like drain this or suck this out and then like turn the wheel back and forth and then or fill it up, suck it out, fill it up, turn the wheel back and forth, suck it out, fill it up over and over and over and over. So I'm gonna just show y'all on camera basically how we're gonna do it. So that's how I'm gonna get it out. And now it's just gonna be as simple as putting it in. And then to put it in again, we're just using this Valvoline. And once you fill it up, then all you need to do is just cycle the car, crank the car, turn the wheel side to side, suck it out, put more back in. And you can do that as many times as you want until you feel confident that you got enough out for you, because realistically, it's all in the power steering lines, the rack, like it's all in there. So it would be like endlessly fighting to get it all out unless you were to like drain it at the power steering rack or something. But this just kind of at least tops it off. And we've got it, looks like on the stick. A little bit more. So we should be good to go. All right, Gabe's about to fire it up, and then we're gonna pull this thing off the ramp and go ahead and test drive it. Yep. Yep, straight. Yep. Yep. All right, let's jump in and go for a spin. Did it feel like it's misfiring?
Nah, didn't feel like it, no. I didn't see how it was doing it before.
Okay, I put good gas in it too. See if that window, it should go up. I put good octane in it. Look at all the dust blowing off.
That's with the wind too.
She's low, boy. You hear it bottom out?
Yeah.
That means that when we lower it and go to take it out, then it's really gonna have to, we're gonna have to put boards down probably to get it out.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's misfired? It feels good?
No, it feels good to me.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go in here when we're driving and just see what we got, the codes. Now we're gonna need to go through here and completely reset all of the service stuff also, like the oil change, the transmission fluid, and we need to make sure that it feels like it's shifting okay, but make sure we got the correct amount of fluid in it. Don't it display it on the dash, the gear? Does it display it up there, the gears we're in? No? I know the F-150s do.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the Ghibli, and then this is actually an 18.
Average miles per gallon about 14.
Yeah. We're gonna do a high-speed scan, driver door circuit. Some of this stuff probably gonna have to be deleted out of here. Get up on it, see how it feels. Oh yeah, she pulls good. Yeah, she pulls good. Oh yeah. What's dinging? What's it? Oh, speed warning. I gotta turn the speed warning off.
It was showing that you were doing something with the brakes.
Oh yeah, it comes up because I was, yeah, because the thing is plugged into it. I don't know if it would clear all this out with the car actually driving. Okay, transmission, we got TCM codes, but that could be because we're driving. So we'll have to try that whenever we stop. What you think? Did she drive good?
Yeah. I'm about to go buy me a Maserati.
She actually pulls really good. Holy crap. Holy crap.
That's not me like stepping on
Yeah.
the way either. That's just...
Dude, that actually pulled really freaking strong. Wow. We're gonna start prepping towards the paint, and we're gonna get some wheels on this thing, and we're gonna get some stuff painted. The first step is gonna be to take care of all this primer work and putting the black guide coat on it so we can see where we're sanding. Now this highlights the highs, lows, flaws, and stuff like that. So when you're doing this step of sanding, you can see them highs and lows and all that kind of good stuff. So we're hand blocking this thing with a 180 grit. This primer was rolled on in previous videos, and I can go ahead and tell you that I ended up not liking this roll-on primer at all. I think we're definitely going to be switching back to spraying primer, even if I have to do it outside on the side of my house. Now, as you can see, to get the texture orange peel out of this roll-on primer, you have to sand a lot of it off. So I've already cut back through the body filler. And guess what that means? That means we have to roll more on again if we're going to keep this true DIY in the garage, not spraying, and keep trying this roll-on primer. I think to get this stuff to work, it's going to definitely take 2 coats, and that's going to flat out suck. But we're going to toughen up, and we're going to get through this, and we're just going to block and block and block and block and block until we get it right. Now, being I had to take so much primer off to get the texture out of it from the roller, yeah, I'm going to have to do it again. Now, this almost seems just crazy because I just rolled it on and I had to sand a ton off to get the texture out. And here I am again mixing this primer up so that we can, guess what, roll it on again. Now, everything I've seen online, it's all done the same way. If you know some other tips or trick to make this stuff flow out, you can. The first time we used it, we did a reducer, but this time we're just shooting it straight. No reducer, just rolling it on. That way it's thicker is my theory, so I have more to sand on, basically leaving me more to be able to work with. So if I cut off 50% of this, then hopefully there's still 50% left. Now this does save where you have no overspray. It doesn't get all over your toolboxes and tools and all over the car. But I really think that I'm going to be switching back to just spraying this stuff on, even if I have to pull this out in the driveway and cover it with plastic. It's just the sanding that this stuff took to get it to slick out was just absolutely freaking crazy. But anyway, this stuff is mixed 4-to-1. Another one if you want to do reducer. So reducer would be 4-to-1-to-1. Non-reducer would just be 4-to-1. And overall, these little roller kits are really cheap off Amazon and eBay. You don't have to have nothing fancy, just a traditional foam roller. About to get us a bumper painted this morning. Jojo, you gonna help me paint?
Yeah.
You gonna do it for me?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna help you.
You're gonna help me?
Please.
Please? One day we'll put a paint gun in your hand. You got one little scratch to fix real fast before we paint it.
That's how you're gonna paint it?
Now we're gonna fill this little scratch in and we're gonna sand it all off besides what's inside the scratch. And then we're gonna put a little bit of quick primer over it and we're gonna put it in the booth and rock and roll, baby. High five. Now for this step, all we're doing is taking the DA and hitting it down with 320 grit. Now this is the fastest way that I have found to do auto body and finish primer out. Now a lot of people argue that you need to go 600 or even 800 before you paint, but me personally, I've pretty much always just did 320 and that's it. Now I've always been big against rattle can primers. They cause problems, they can wrinkle on you, they can shrink back. They're just not good. But in this situation, there's just a little scratch. I don't want to mix up 2K primer. I want to basically hammer on primer and then roll straight into the booth. So that's what we did. We hammered on that primer and now we're moving into scuffing. So I let it flash off for, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes. And then I'm basically not even going to sand it. I'm just going to get on it with this Scotch-Brite, Dawn dish soap water. I'm going to scuff everything down. Sometimes I hit my primer with a little bit of wet sandpaper just to slick it off, but I don't want to take the primer off the surface because then that can definitely cause you problems. I kind of want to leave it as a band-aid over what we're doing. Now, I would never put that rattle can primer over body filler. But this step right here is just Scotch-Brite, soap and water, scuff pad. I'm putting my Dawn dish soap directly in my scuff pad, and I'm scuffing up the whole bumper. So this is basically killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're scuffing the bumper for adhesion, and then you're also washing the bumper to get rid of any contaminants, and then you just wash it off. Now the same thing goes for this piece of chrome trim that goes around the grill. All we're doing is scuffing this up with Scotch-Brite, soap and water, and just scuffing it up for adhesion. Now scratching this up with this pad is going to help bond the paint to it, but we're also going to go one step farther and use an adhesion promoter or Bulldog. Now there's others on the market, Duplicolor, it comes in a rattle can, there's all kinds of different ones. But anytime you're painting this kind of stuff, you need to use an adhesion promoter to make the paint stick. We're going to wipe it down with wax and grease remover, and then we're going to go start mixing up stuff. Yeah, this cleans it. No, the gray stuff is primer. Oh, it's because it's getting wet. As it dries, it'll go back gray. It's because I sanded it, so it looks gray. But after the wax and grease remover dries off of it, then it'll turn back flat, like dull and gray. See how it went away on this side? Some of it's going away. And if you blow on it, it'll make it go away faster. You want to try it? Blow on it. Look. Wow, it's like magic. Do it again. Wow. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put this adhesion promoter in here, and I'm gonna go spray that chrome piece with this real fast, and then I'll come back and we'll get you a mask on, and then we'll go in there and start doing the black, okay? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and run this adhesion promoter over the bumper. Now, I like to, on jobs like this, I scuff my hands. I like to just put it all over the edges, basically. The face of the bumper is always gonna get sanded and scuffed. The face of any part, that's always gonna be the easiest thing to scuff and get adhesion. But it's gonna be them little tiny edges where all them stupid clips are that you're just simply probably not gonna get 100%. Maybe you get it 99 or 98, but that last 1 to 2%, that's where the Bulldog comes in. So it's just a reassurance. If you've ever took a bumper apart that's used or off of a vehicle that's been repainted and all the edges are flaking, or you take fog lights out or a grill out and all that's flaking inside there, it's because they didn't scuff it good or they didn't use adhesion promoter. All right, let's start over here on this side. Okay, come on. Come right here. Okay, we're gonna hold the gun. We're gonna hold it up here. I'll pull the trigger, okay, for you. Are you ready? And then we gotta let that dry. I need to go put a little thinner in this. Come on. All right, you ready? Okay, let's put the second coat on. Ready? Okay, we got to get over here on the side. All right, so Harper straight up wanted to go to work with me this morning. It was a Saturday morning, and she always asks, can I help you paint? Because she does not understand that painting cars is not the same as finger painting. So I decided to go ahead and let her hold a paint gun for the first time in her life. We're moving into the base coat where I'm really now hammering on the coverage. Basically, I was just letting her do something to start with. We're getting the chrome trim covered, we're getting the bumper covered, and we're making sure we have everything covered. Now, if this was a color that was not black, I'd be doing blend outs and stuff where I fade the color to make sure it matches the adjacent panel. However, with this being black, I'm gonna go ahead and coat the whole entire part. That way I ensure everything is nice and fresh black. Now for the clear coat, we're gonna mix this 4 to 1 to 1. This is an Omni 270, this is made by PPG, and this is what I pretty much use on all of my all-overs or all of my customer jobs. This is a insurance level, a daily driver level clear. This is not a high solids or a glamour clear or anything like that. This is the product I've been using for probably about 15 years now, and I personally reduce it, but I also put on 3 coats. The data sheet calls for 2 coats. That's 2 coats not reduced. So being I reduce, I go 3 coats. And being I'm a wet sand and buff, I'm definitely going 3 coats. All right, now for the actual spraying of the clear coats, like I said, we do 3 coats, all right? But a lot of times people ask me, what PSI are you spraying at? What pressure are you spraying at? All that stuff. To be honest, I don't know. So I used to use a regulator when I first started, and then just started going off of the way it sounds and the way it's flowing out. And so I took the regulator off my gun because it stacks so much onto the bottom of your gun. It kind of got annoying, honestly. And for the past, I don't know, 8 years or so, I use no air pressure regulator that can tell me the air pressure. Now, of course, I adjust the air pressure on the bottom of the gun, but I go all off of sound and eyesight on what is actually flowing out. I watched it clear, and I've been doing it for so long now that that's what I go off of. Am I wrong on the PSI? Absolutely. Am I using too much air PSI or not enough? Probably absolutely. But at the end of the day, with painting, all that really matters is you get the results that you want in the way that you do it, as long as you don't cause the product to fail. And adjusting air pressure is not going to cause the product to fail at all. Now, repairing these parts in one spot, doing the paint, and then bringing them home definitely adds some possibility of flaws. Now, I wrap this up with a moving blanket, which is not always the best move, but at least it protects it from scratches. The door I had to go back and get because it will lay flat in a better truck. I could not remove both of these at the same time in my truck because there's not enough room. This is the hard part about doing this kind of stuff at your house. Now, if you're painting at your house, you have no issue, but if you're paying a shop to paint individually parts and you put it back on, you have to think about the transportation. Now, just from the very short 8-minute drive from the body shop to the house, I already have some dull spots. So you see that right there? That's all scratching from just moving it. Now, we have to wet sand and buff the trash out of this, but this right here is pretty bad. This is literally just from my bed cover probably blowing as we go down the road. So this whole center was wrapped with a moving blanket, and the wind, I guess, from the bed cover on top, it's not a hard cover, literally scuffed the paint all up. Now, for this front bumper, we're doing just a basic wet sand. So I'm starting out with 2500 grit, and then I will do a 3000 Trizac grit sandpaper. Then we're going to move into a foam cutting pad and then a polishing pad. Nothing fancy, pretty straightforward on this black. Now we're following up the wet sanding with a cut compound on the white foam pad. So this basically is still a form of sanding. This actually cuts microscopic scratches out up to a certain grit depending on the level of cut compound that you're using. And then we move on to a polishing compound. The polishing compound is designed to put the shine in it, which you probably know as waxing. Now, Harper thinks that she is extremely important at doing a big job, and that's what I like for her to believe. She's just hanging out and wiping some of the wax that slings off all over the place while I'm doing all the work of actually polishing this bumper out. How are we looking? How are we looking on the bumpers? You getting it all wiped off?
Yeah.
Over there? You getting all this stuff wiped off? Now we're moving on to assembling this front bumper. Honestly, this Maserati front bumper is not that hard to put together. I've actually worked on some way more complicated bumpers, such as the slightly newer Chevy Impalas. Them are aggravating to say the least, and then there's way more complicated bumpers than that. But this bumper actually, surprisingly, is really easy. I could put these things together all day long. The bottom bumpers just snap in, the grills just snaps in, it has a couple screws, and then the parking sensors just snap in. So it's honestly pretty straightforward. The biggest thing when you're assembling these bumpers to pay attention to is to make sure you don't scratch the paint that you just buffed. I always like to buff first and then assemble later because I don't want to get wax all over the grills and inside the nooks and crannies. The parking sensors just lay in there. I take the time to clean them up. They snap all into place and they plug in. You just got to make sure you have your plug on the correct side. But this is kind of the rewarding part of a rebuild because now this is assembly and hopefully you'll never have to go back. This front grille, blacking out this surround that used to be chrome, it definitely is looking good. Now this is one of these cheap Amazon, eBay front chin spoilers that go underneath the front bumper. Now I almost did not buy this, but when you look at the price of chin spoilers that are designed for your car, you're talking this universal one may be $40 to $80 depending on where you buy it. The ones that are made to fit your car often run about $300. So I figured, you know what, if I can fabricate this thing and modify it a little bit and make it fit and then it would work, then I would be way farther ahead. And that's exactly what we had to do. So if you can't modify stuff on the Maserati, these universal splitters are a very poor fit. But with a little bit of modification, I was able to get this thing looking really good, as you can see here. Now, I do still need to add some supports to push down the front of this lip because on the car, it's kind of angled up. And them are currently on the way in the mail, but not going to be on in this video, unfortunately. But I think overall, this thing turned out great to be such a cheap splitter. Now I'm just drilling the holes through it, and it comes with these little bolts and putting them in to kind of really lock that in. Besides that, it's just a couple self-tappers across the bottom, but you definitely have to spend some time on fit up and really making it work for your application. We're going to go ahead and sand out the fenders on the edge, the same thing we did on the quarter panel, because once this bumper's on, I don't want to have to get this aggressive near this bumper, being this bumper was just painted. We're going to pop this bumper back for actual paint on the side of the car, but we want to kind of go ahead and get our prep work done, you know, about 6 inches away from 6-8 inches away from where the painted part is. That way we don't have to go back. There's no point in trying to block this out with the bumper on the vehicle. Now, I think this thing turned out pretty nice, but just like you guys, you're probably really limited on space. So unfortunately, we need to go ahead and put this back on the car before we paint all this. Now, in a perfect paint world, that is not how this works. In a perfect paint world, you take the door off, you take the fender off, you take everything off to paint. But often, every day in America, everywhere, paint shop to paint shop, people paint with stuff assembled. It's just how it is. The biggest no-no, the reason why people don't want you to paint with stuff assembled, is you can't get all the edges. It's so very hard for you to get, such as in here, in sand. Now, there is ways to do it. Take this up, run a Scotch-Brite in there, and we can get the edges, but it definitely takes more time. So before we put this front bumper back on, being we know that we have to paint this fender, we have went ahead and pulled the headlight out. So the headlight is loose, and we have took the time to sand and clean up all of our edges around here where the headlight and the bumper is going to touch. Now, taping up the bumper absolutely is not a problem. That is super easy. It's always going to be getting sandpaper inside the cracks to get your paint to stick. So we've cleaned up every single edge. That way, when we get this thing to the body shop, all we have to do is pop out that bumper a little bit to pop it out so that paint can dust down in there, mask everything off, and then we can paint all this. Now, on this door, we've already wet sanded it and recorded it. It's the same exact steps as we took on the front bumper. So we're just going ahead and polishing this thing out. It's way easier to do a part on a paint stand like this most of the time. Sometimes you need something to hold the part, but most of the time it's easier to do a part laying on a painting stand before you put it on the car, because A, you're not slinging wax all over the car, and B, the weight of the buffer, you don't have to hold it up. Okay, your arms will get tired if your buffer's heavier. Now, we reviewed this buffer previously, and I'm not going to plug it in this video. It's in my review list, but it was extremely lightweight, and that's what I liked about this buffer, and I stated that in that video. And I'm still using this buffer, as you can see, daily on customer jobs and everything. Now we're back at the shop and we're going to get these parts painted. This is the front bumper emblem, the door handles, and the rear bumper reflectors. I tend to kind of do this stuff during the weekdays on my lunch break, so I only have an hour that I can work on my YouTube gig outside of my business. Even though I'm the boss, I'm still really structured, and I keep my two companies separated. So it's nice to be able to just run these little parts in, you know, different steps. You know, one day do this, and next day do this. And then also you don't have such a big booth run at once, and it's easier to kind of quality control. And it's just overall easier and less stressful. So I highly recommend, if you're starting out, to definitely just, you know, run your pieces a little at a time. But we set them all up on the table. For the back parts right here, we're not smoking these. We're actually painting these solid black. These are reflectors. They have no lights in them, and they serve no purpose besides reflectors. And quite frankly, they're ugly as crap being in a back bumper and just not needed. If you were to buy a car like this and decide that you don't like this, then you just simply unplug the reflectors, and you could probably put you some nice looking aftermarket ones in. But to save money, we're just painting ours up solid. Now, we've scuffed these. Of course, we ran the Bulldog adhesion promoter over it, just like we did on the grill piece earlier beforehand, and now we're just following up with the black base coat, and then we will follow it up with the clear coat. Now, for the bumper piece, the little round piece that goes on a bumper, I'm actually going to leave my gun dirty, meaning I'm going to pour my black base coat out and then leave some black base coat in the gun, and I'm going to pour my clear coat in the gun. Now, this is going to create a mixture that is going to be tinted clear coat, basically. So it's going to have some base coat mixed into it, and we're going to just lightly smoke the front emblem across the bumper that goes across the front bumper using this method. Now, I did look it up on eBay. You can buy them already smoked, and you can buy them different colors and everything, but you're going to pay about another $30. And this in products, it's already all mixed up. Realistically, this is probably $5 in product that's going to go on this little front piece on the front bumper. So I think that might actually work. We sprayed this with spray paint yesterday, which never works. I didn't want to buy base coat for just that. Normally you cannot paint over spray paint, but I hit that with spray paint yesterday and then hit it with clear coat today.
These wheels, I think, are going to be absolutely perfect.
Now these rear brake pads, real fast, while we got the wheels off, they have seen better days. So we are going to change them, but to change them, you have to actually come in here and you have to put this in maintenance mode. So this is using that scanner that we most recently reviewed. And we're gonna do maintenance open. And when you click that, that's going to open up this rear electric parking brake and release the caliper so that you can change the brake pads on this. And we're gonna go ahead and get the brake pads changed because I'd like to throw the wheels back on the rears. That way I could possibly move on to maybe changing the front rims out. With new ones installed, I would definitely say that these were about to cost somebody a good bit of money to do a whole brake service on this car.
Now, moving on to the rear bumper, it's also very easy to put together. Some people, I think, are intimidated by the Maserati name, but so far, my experience with this car and the green one that I owned a couple years back before this is it has not been hard to work on. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. The window regulator is the only thing that really throws a curveball, and getting the door panels off. But at the end of the day, now that we know how they work, it wasn't a big deal. But the parts so far, putting bumpers together and stuff, assembly, it's literally like very basic. These cars are built basically off of like Mopar Dodge design, and they're nothing to be intimidated by at all. So this was definitely a joy to work on and not hard.
So these are the wheels that we went with for this Maserati. Now these are off of eBay. They're a very good looking wheel. Being this is a budget build, we couldn't go with anything super high end, so we had to pick wisely so that it didn't look cheesy. It would still look tough, but not over the top. There's also no reason to go over the top with this one because it is still a base model Maserati at the end of the day. It's not a high package Maserati by any means, and I acknowledge that. But we still wanted this thing to look good, sit good, and we wanted to be smart with our money. So we went with a 19-inch wheel, and we kept the factory tires. Let's see here. These are 275/40 19s on the rear, and they already had good tread, so it kind of just made sense to me to not have to replace them. We only had to replace one tire, and we purchased the used tire also off eBay so that it would match the tread. There's kind of no point putting a brand new tire on a single wheel when the other four are used. Now we're still up in the air on if we're going to lower it or not, so we'll see what it looks like. But we run into a slight issue. So the backs, they went on perfect. Now, I think the car is sitting up just a little higher than it actually will in the driveway because when you jack a car up, the wheels kind of swing out, and then when you sit it down, they stay straight down where they really have to kind of push out. We're gonna look at it on the ground in the driveway, and then we're gonna decide if we should order in lowering springs or not. The backs went on issue free. We have tons of clearance, stick my whole freaking hand in here. Everything is perfect. I really like the way these look. in the rendering that we did. I did a rendering on the car beforehand with it a little bit lower, and I like the way it looks. But we have one fitment issue that we're having to deal with on the front. Now, these were ordered for the Maserati year, make, and model, but as we all know, if you're familiar with the car world, nothing fits, especially the drag racing and racing and aftermarket community. So our front brake calipers don't clear. So you can see they're just basically touching this little hump out right here. Now, we have two options to fix this. You can either put a wheel spacer on and space the rim out off the caliper, and you only need a tiny bit, or you can modify your brake caliper. Now, I grabbed these spacers from the shop that I had, but by the time you put this wheel spacer on, plus the factory lug nut through there, it does not have enough threads on the lug nut to engage into the wheel hub, and that's not going to work. The only other option we have, grind it down and make it clear.
Now I know everybody's going to say, why would you not just order hub-centric spacers and extended wheel bolts? And trust me, I looked up that. But that's going to push the wheel possibly another 1/4 of an inch out. All right, you're going to need hub-centric spacers, and then you got to hope that when you're turning, it doesn't make it worse where it's going to hit your fenders. So I decided that the best thing to do, which I've done many times in the past, is just clearance the problem item so that it does not hit and our issue is resolved.
All right, so we've got that all shaved down, and we got the wheel where it spins. So while this car is up on the lift, we want to address one more thing. Now that we've added the chin spoiler to the front of this car, it's going to make it a little harder to get off the lift, so I kind of don't want to put it back on the lift. I'm hoping from here on out it's going to be appearance stuff and not on the lift needed stuff. Once we get this thing off the lift, we do have chin spoiler supports coming, so the chin spoiler is kicked up a little right now. We're going to straighten it out with the rods that are going to come in the mail. So getting it off the lift without them supports is going to be easier now. But we want to go ahead and address the sound of this car while it's on the lift and in the garage today, because I'm hoping when we pull it back in next time, we can take this lift to the ceiling and we can just park it underneath here and do everything else on the floor like normal. So under this car, you have these rear mufflers right here. Now, these things have these actuators built into the back of them. One of them does not over there, and then this one does. It's the same on both, okay? Them open up off a vacuum. You can actually see the little mechanism right there on that side. That changes the sound tone. So when you put it in sport mode, it opens it up so that both of them breathes better. When you cold start this car, it's louder because both of them breathe. There is a modification where we can disconnect those, and we will probably disconnect those, and it does not cause any lights or nothing on the dash because it's vacuum and you can always hook it back up. But moving on up, then all we have up here is this resonator muffler thing in the center. Now, this is not a catalytic converter. There's no O2 sensors before or after this. So removing this will do absolutely nothing as to our check engine lights. Your catalytic converters are up there on the left and the right. If you remove those will cause check engine lights. So we're going to remove this to start out because this is the easiest. Removing those, we'll also have to remake the whole back pipe and the tip area. So from the factory, they have these dual tips that fit in this area. If we remove this, we're gonna have to buy a tip that fits in here and is also slanted back, or we're gonna have to make this where two pipes go into one. So it's a little bit more work. Also, if the car is a little bit too loud, then by leaving this actuator thing on it, which you can see better right here, all right, leaving that guy on it will allow us to slightly tone it down when it's not cold started or when it's not in sports mode. So I think removing the center is the better option in our situation than removing the rears.
Now this exhaust is basically 2.5. The pipes that come off of the cats that go into the front of this muffler, they're a little bigger than 2.5, but the ones that come out the back, they are basically dead on 2.5. So we just so happen to have some stainless tubing left over from where we built our turbo headers for the race car, or we built all of our turbo piping previously on the Comet that we built on this channel. And I think to save money, we're just going to use that stainless piping and put it in line here to delete this muffler. All right, I didn't want to take this whole exhaust system apart. There was no way. I'm always trying to find an easy way out of everything, literally everything in life. So I took a ratchet strap and I pulled this back section backwards, okay? Now I had cut these center pipes a little bit long, that way they could slip inside of the others. So now that I have pulled this section backwards, because the rubber hangers have so much friction on them, it doesn't really like to just easily swing. Now I need to pull it back forward again. That way I can actually slip the exhaust system over the pipes that we putting in between them. Now I made one shorter than the other one because I actually messed up on the cut, but it still worked out perfectly fine. I'm definitely glad I went this route, even though I knew that after I welded this up on the bottom half, I'd probably have to take the whole system out. Now welding this wasn't super easy. A combination of the stainless and a combination of the dirty exhaust pipe with basically no prep work at all. It didn't go perfect all the times, but to keep the heat where I wasn't just throwing the heat to it, I basically just did a series of tacks and then I'd pause and kind of let it cool down and just kind of evenly spread out my heat, because we all know that stainless isn't the strongest stuff in the world. In the racing community, we would always have issues with stainless hot sides and cold sides on turbo systems breaking, and so we would have to put braces in them and stuff like that. And that's where my mind was already going, is that we were definitely going to build a custom brace for these center pipes to help take the load off. But I didn't want to just pour the heat to it, because as they were cooling, you could actually hear, you know, them doing their little popping, and if you've ever welded this kind of stuff, you know what I'm talking about. And I just didn't want to, you know, stress them out too bad. Now I tried to find a way to get this exhaust out without taking these cross beams out, because in order to take these little cross bars out, you got to take the undershielding down to get up in there to get the two. Well, there's 4 per cross bar, so that's 8 total, and I really didn't want to do that. So normally what I will do is I normally will spend a lot of extra time trying to find a shortcut that normally is more time consuming than just doing it from the start. Now, as I've got older, I've got a little bit better about just doing it the correct way from the start, but I'm still looking for the shortcut always. So we took a jack and jacked up the rear section here. That way, hopefully this front section we just welded could slip underneath it. However, the crossbars were just still in the way and not allowing it to come down enough. So I still ended up having to take all these 10mm bolts out of the undershielding in order to get it down enough so that I could get my hand underneath there with a extension or with a ratchet, a long reach ratchet like this, and undo all 8 of these little nuts. That way I could take the crossbar off. Once I did that, then I was able to finally get this thing out. Now we have this thing on the workbench where we can easily see what we're doing, and we can take our time and we can weld this out of the way once we move them fire hazard cloths out the way. You always look for stuff that's going to catch on fire, because sure enough it will while you're welding. Again, just spacing out my heat and making sure I'm not just throwing the heat to one area. You could definitely get it too hot and actually move the pipe, because it's going to push and pull as you weld. We all know that from fabrication. So I definitely don't want this thing to move now that it's outside of the car. I went ahead and welded up the 180 degrees on the bottom of each pipe before I took it out. So now all I basically have to do is a series of tack across the top. And again, not letting it get too hot, because then it also will want to just burn through, but hot enough where we get good penetration. Alright, so we designed a exhaust support, and I'm going to tell you and show you why here in a minute, but let's see if we can fit this thing on this little scrap piece of metal and not have to use a big piece. It's going to be very close to the edge. Now all this is going to do is tie the existing mild steel together to each other while also supporting the stainless muffler delete pipes is what we'll call them that we put in there. So basically it's just going to tie everything together down the sides and just add some stability and some strength to this muffler delete.
All right, so when you have this bad boy in normal mode, it's not loud at all. So this is perfect. I'm really, really glad that we chose to delete the center resonator versus the rear tailpipe mufflers, or maybe I got it backwards. Maybe the center was the muffler and these are resonators. I don't know. But with the sports button, we can turn these on and off, which is super nice in certain situations when you don't want it really loud. But check this out. So if you come in here and you push the sports mode, now at idle it is way deeper. So that changes the total pitch, and if we put it back, it even says normal mode on the dash. Sport mode on, normal mode on. All right, now let's listen to normal mode. So that is really, really nice feature.
All right, so now before we go to paint, there's a couple things I want to do at the house to literally avoid being at my body shop for more than I have to. I really, really like being at home and not at my place of work. So we're taking the emblems off the car because we are debadging it. I feel like with this car, nobody really needs to know it's a Maserati. We don't need it plastered all over it. People can already tell that this is not a Honda Civic or something. So I feel like taking the emblems off is almost a little classy. Originally I was going to replace them with black ones, but decided against it. Now after you pull the emblem off, of course you got to use an eraser wheel, so I simply bolted it back to the trunk real fast to kind of hold it because I don't have anybody else here to hold it while I use an eraser wheel. And this product will remove the adhesive without damaging the paint, as long as you're careful. Now you can get these too hot where you burn the paint, but if you're familiar with them or you have used them a couple of times, you get the hang of it pretty quick, and overall they're pretty safe on paint. Alright, and for our tail lights, we have already smoked them. So we're going to go ahead and put these smoked tail lights in that we previously did. And the ones on the trunk are pretty simple. The ones on the body side of the car actually have a funky screw nut bolt thing that's hid way up inside. The trunk is kind of annoying, but I was able to get it. And just like that, with a little bit of movie magic, now our trunk piece is completely repainted. So we went ahead and painted the chrome trim that was under the emblem. We removed the emblem as you just seen, and then we repainted the top part because when we removed the emblem, we used an eraser wheel, but there's kind of no point in taping that up when you can just go ahead and freshen it up.
All right, so we're putting this back door back together, and as I showed on the front door, you have that little mechanism with the window regulator. So the wrench that I ordered off of eBay finally come in, and I just wanted to update y'all with that and show you it real fast. All right, so here is the tool we made. It basically, we made this on a plasma table. It goes in there like that, and it grips the wrench or the gear piece so you can turn it. This is what clamps your window regulator. Here is one off of eBay that you can get for, I guess, minis use them. And it goes like that. So this is just a plastic 3D printed one. I'd much rather have the metal, but we're gonna keep it because maybe it'll be useful. Not really sure.
Now we're moving forward with some of our wet sanding and our buffing. Where we pulled the emblem off on the passenger side, we're going to need to go ahead and do a little wet sanding. That emblem has been on there for 66,000 miles, and so it's going to have junk build up around the edges, and if you just take it off and use an eraser wheel, you're going to still see the outline of it. When you first pull it off, you can actually see an outline of where it has faded the paint. So you need to do some wet sanding and then some cut compound a little bit and then polishing, and that's going to blend everything out nicely where you don't see it. We're also going to hit the top of this trunk one more time. I'm still not happy with it. We did this in an earlier video, but the top of this trunk is just literally busted, man. People have laid stuff on it and it's just got some surface scratches. So I wet sanded out some more of the surface scratches, but factory paint is actually really thin. It's not as thick as like if you pay somebody to paint your car. So I have to be really careful and kind of just find a happy median. And unfortunately, I'm not going to 100% get the results I want, but I also don't want to just repaint the whole trunk because you got to stop somewhere. The whole car has some scratches on it. Now we're doing all this so that if we mess up this paint, then when we take it to the body shop, we can fix it. We're moving back into our final sanding prep. So this is going to be 180 on the block again on this freaking roll-on primer. And then we're going to have to switch to a 320 on the block. And then I'm actually going to go, I think I went 800 wet or 600 wet. Definitely uncalled for. Normally, when I'm in my comfort zone at my own shop and not at my house, I go straight 320 on the DA. Sometimes I block it with 320, but most of the time I just DA it and straight to paint. I don't do 3 sanding steps, so this is definitely out of the ordinary for me. But I'm trying to get all the prep work done at the house with the limited tools that I have here. That way, when I go to the shop to paint this thing, I don't have to be there long. Now for the wet 600 or 800, whatever I chose to use, I decided again just to do this at the house. I went ahead and washed out the garage because we've been sanding in the garage and the car was just covered with sanding dust. And so this is a good opportunity for me and Harper to hang out. She worked the water hose some and I took my time on just wet sanding all these panels where they're super slick and to make sure we got rid of all of our 180 scratches and 320 scratches. And then also was able to go ahead and Scotch-Brite soap and water every single panel. So basically when I pull up inside the paint booth, all we're going to have to do is literally tape this thing up, a little bit of prep around the edges and stuff like that, and then rock and roll. Alright, so off to the body shop we go. So the car is kind of halfway put together on this driver's side. That way it can be fast and easy for me to basically pop the bumper out and stuff like that whenever we get there. But this definitely saved me a ton doing all the paint prep at the house. Now the only thing that I cannot get to turn off in this freaking car is the speed warning. Now I have messed with it in here. I have cut everything off in the dash or in the system, but for some reason I cannot get rid of it on the freaking dash, and I have no earthly idea why. But let's get this thing in the paint booth and let's take care of painting this thing for today. Now the only thing we have left to do here is once we pull the gas door out like this, we have to scuff around the edges. And then we're going to have to, of course, do the taping up. I had to remove the chrome trim above the top of the windows, and I had to take the driver's door handle back out. Now this is a special automotive painting plastic, so please don't go to your Home Depot or your Lowe's and get drop plastic like for painting a house that construction crews use. This stuff is designed for paint to stick on one side. You have to make sure you have it turned right. If you use regular plastic to do paint with, then the paint can basically flake off that's on the plastic in the middle of your clear coat and completely ruin your job. So you absolutely do not want to use plastic that is not designed for this. Now that I have everything taped up, I'm gonna wipe it down with wax and grease remover. And we do miss spots sometimes that we remember that we have to go back and do. So this is where I pulled the taillight out. The taillight was in the car at the house and I couldn't get in here, so we need to get it now. Then we're going to keep rolling with the wax and grease remover over the whole entire panels that we're going to be painting, and we're going to grab the Scotch-Brite here again in a second and do this edge, because at the house, again, we had all the chrome trim in, we had the door handles in, we had everything in. So now that all that's taken out, I want to take the time with the scuff pad and to make sure I scuff all of them nooks and crannies up so that our paint will adhere to it. So it doesn't take but a second. It doesn't really make that big of a mess. I'm doing it dry, just going around all the edges where there was chrome trim or, you know, different things that was on it at the house that I couldn't get to. But still, doing the prep work at the house still saved me a lot of times because I barely have anything left to do in the booth now. So I do have a little bit of contamination right there below the gas door that I just went over top of. So we're going to need to go ahead and kind of layer that up. So we're going to get this panel coated, and then we're just going to run our air like we're doing now across it to flash this base coat off really fast. And then we're just going to dust coat this a couple of times to keep building it up. Now when I turn the camera off, I do a little bit more, but basically if you just put it on very light dust coats, then you can dry it pretty fast with a gun, and you can keep building it up until you have your contamination under control and it's gone. I don't know where that little bit of contamination come from, but it is what it is. It's something you have to deal with when you're painting, and you have to know how to handle it in the moment. For this one, we're also not using a sealer or anything like that. This is just straight to black base coat. I've already wet sanded, as you've seen in the driveway, this primer out really slick, so I'm just rolling straight base coat. This saves me time. Harper's actually on her way back to the shop. Her mom was dropping her off, so I'm really trying to hammer this thing on, and by the time she shows up, we will be in our first coat of clear. Now, for our clear coat, we're shooting a clear by the name of Omni 270. So this is made by PPG, but it is a production level clear coat. So it mixes 4 to 1, and then I cut it again with 1 on the reducer. So this is just a daily driver level clear. This is not a show clear. This is not a glamour clear. This is not high solids. I very rarely shoot high solids. Most of what I shoot mixes 4 to 1. So this is going to be the same thing that's going to go on your car if you get an accident. The insurance company's going to do it. We're just laying down a good even coat for our first coat, and then I'm going to do 2 more coats after that, and then that will be it. When we get this back to the house, we will put a wet sand and buff over the large panels, not up here on the pillar, but all the large panels will get wet sanded and buffed, and then this side of this car will be as good as new. Actually, it'll probably be better because this whole side of this car will be polished out and it will have no scratches on it or anything, because if you remember, we've already done that back door right there off the car that we have taped up. diving right in on reinstalling our painted trim pieces. Originally, I ordered the cheap vinyl decals to put over all this trim, and then I decided, why waste the money on the vinyl decals when we can literally just paint it? So that's exactly what we did. Is we took the time, removed all the chrome trim around the windows, the door pieces, everything, and we painted every single piece. We even went as far as to do all of the vents on the fenders, removing every single one and prepping every single one by hand, and then painting all 6 fender vents.
All right, so for our front chin spoiler, it was too low, so we need to space that down. So we're gonna use these chin spoiler support rods that you can get off Amazon and eBay. Now the thing about these is you can get them in all different colors with this sleeve, with this tube. But with this, when you turn this, it should be like a turnbuckle style setup, and it should, you know, expand, but it don't. The reason why it doesn't is because this is what this actually looks like. So when we take this thing apart, all it has is this tube over top of it that is different colors. So when you order one a certain color, you're just ordering this tube. Now, if this tube is on there, you can't turn this thing worth of crap to get it to expand. It will expand, but then when you do expand it, this is what happens. Okay, these are super cheap, but they're very useful, so don't sleep on them. I'm gonna show you something. So then they're open like this, where they won't look good. So what it's supposed to be on the inside, when you completely take these apart and take the tube off, is this is what it's supposed to be. Now this is a true turnbuckle. So when we sit here and we turn this rod like this, the spacing right there, as you can see, all right, it opens up, meaning that it's super simple now to make adjustments on the front splitter and lower the splitter down.
Now to install these, it's pretty simple, but we don't want to do anything that can't be reversible. So we're going to drill a hole in the splitter and we're going to install it down there. But if we sell this car and somebody doesn't like this, we don't want to damage the car. So what we've done is drilled a hole, as you can see, under the bumper grill piece. That way it's not seen. Now we're just going to install our emblem back on here. It takes a little bit of emblem glue, and then it's going to take a nut on the inside of the bumper. Now I wish I would have done this when the bumper was off, but I actually didn't have emblem glue at the house, and I was too lazy to go buy some emblem glue. So now we're going to do what we all do as car guys, and we're going to fight with getting our hands in here behind this bumper and tightening this piece down. Now I'm not going to lie to you. Here in North Carolina, it's been like 90 some degrees. Heat index 100 and something outside. And we're going to wash this car in the air conditioner inside the house. Now it's not going to hurt nothing at all because everything is just flowing right out the garage as we rinse it down. And the 4-post lift, it's powder coated all the way around. It's not going to hurt nothing. Them bolts that are in the floor for them 4-post lift also, they're not going to hurt nothing. At the end of the day, there's nothing on my floors that can be damaged from washing a car inside the house. Now I do have a air conditioner system in this garage that has a dry feature. So after we are done washing this car, we are going to turn the drying feature on, which will pull all the condensation and the humidity out of the air. Now honestly, all we have left at this point is a little bit of touching up with the buffer. Basically, we just need to clean this thing, vacuum this thing out, wipe the interior down, buff a little bit out that we missed, and then this thing is ready to become a next vehicle for sale and to complete the journey of this rebuild. Now this build series was definitely unique. We've rebuilt a lot on this channel, as anyone knows that has followed along. But this one never picked up the traction. I have my beliefs on why. I know it has a lot to do with the YouTube algorithm and how a lot of people just think they can't relate to Maserati. A lot of people think they can't afford them, and a lot of people think that, you know, it's just not achievable, and that's just simply not true. Truth is that we're all in this Maserati on the purchase about $9,000, and it only took about $2,000 to repair. So I'm in this Maserati around $11,000. Now I'm putting this thing for sale for $16,000 due to all the stuff that we've done to it. Salvage does bring it down some, but I build and resell 100 salvages a year, and I've learned that there is a thing called street value and supply and demand. It doesn't matter what a piece of paper says a car is worth. At the end of the day, all it matters is what somebody's willing to pay for it. So with the cosmetic and appearance changes that we've done to this car, along with the service, I believe that this car is worth clean title value or a little above. Now we'll see what we end up selling this one for and getting for it, but that's the starting point. Clean title value is $15,000 on this car, so asking is $16,000, hoping we can come down into the $14-15 range. Now, we're going to continue rebuilding cars. I don't think we're going to do another Maserati right now. Our next build I'm pretty excited to start, but this one has been enjoyable for me, so I definitely did not hate this build, and I definitely enjoyed this process. Before we say goodbye to this, me and Harper spent the Saturday driving this thing into town. We went to Home Depot, did a little bit of building.
Daddy,
Yeah.
why do you call a bear that's hungry
A bear that's hungry, I don't know. What do you call it?
a bear hungry?
A bear hungry? That don't make sense.
Quick stop to get the haircut, and then we're off to the shop to take the official for sale pictures. The walk around videos, the money shots, the pictures that are hopefully going to make us money. Now on this, I'm not really in this to make money on this car. It's more for bringing y'all content. So even if I break even on this car, I'm perfectly happy, because I met some of y'all new viewers, and I greatly appreciate your new subscribers. And we learned some on this car, and we had a good time doing it while we did do it.
So I hope you liked this build, and I hope you're here to stay if you're new. We're going to continue doing these builds, and we're going to keep working our way up. If you have a car that you think we should build, let me know in the comment sections. I already have a new car purchase that's going to be coming out very soon on the channel, and we're going to start building that, and I'm very excited to jump right into it. As a small thank you for all the work that we put into doing these videos, if you can, just please hit the like button for me, and if you want to stick around, hit the subscribe button. That'd be greatly appreciated also.